Hey guys, it's Winterwolf and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be creating the 4 main characters from Pretty Little Liars, the original series, not the newer one that's come out. Just a heads up, if you guys don't want spoilers, you might want to mute this voiceover and put music over it, or just not watch the video because I can't guarantee that I won't give out any spoilers during my rant. But yeah, so in summary, if you're still watching and you haven't seen the series, it's about these 4 girls who used to be friends with this girl named Allison, and Allison goes missing. This is all backstory, and the 4 friends drift apart. One of them, named Aria, actually ends up moving to Europe, and then she comes back from Europe, and the story starts there, where they end up finding Allison's body. So she's no longer missing. She's presumed dead. They have her body, and the 4 girls start getting these mysterious text messages from this like cyberbully that's calling themselves A. And it starts out as like kind of concerning, like they know secrets that only Allison knew about them, and then it gets like drastically more dangerous as the story progresses, with blackmail and almost killing them or harming them in some sort of way, telling all their secrets, getting their parents in jail, framing them for things, kidnapping. So it's a very like dramatic cyberbullying extreme show, and this is Aria Montgomery. She's one of the main characters. All of the girls have very stereotypical personalities. There's 4 girls. Hannah, who's like the popular girl who likes shopping and fashion. There's Emily Fields, who is sporty. There's Spencer Hastings, who's like the Ivy League bound student. And then there's Aria, who's the artsy girl of the group. She's sort of not cookie cutter. She's that girl that's different and goes out of boundaries and defies social norms. They give a couple examples of this in the story and in the TV series. In the books, they mention a lot about how she calls her parents by her first names. One of those examples of like defying norms. Another thing is she had pink hair. This is something that's shown in the TV series and talked about actually a fair amount about her pink hair, because she used to have pink hair and people would like look down upon her for it. The parents were always like, why does she do this? Because she lives in like this tiny town called Rosewood. Like it wasn't common to have pink hair, and so it was like this bizarre sort of rebellious thing to do, and all the other moms were like, why would anyone let their kid do that? But her parents were always very open-minded. They're both very artistic. I think her father is a writing professor and her mom is an artist, so Aria naturally is also very artistic. She does a lot of writing, painting, photography, and I find it really interesting because in middle school it was like a vibe to be like this artsy girl. Like it was like mysterious and cool, and a lot of girls I knew would start doing photography. Like they were in photography club, but they didn't actually like photography. They just did it because it was kind of like that cool thing to do. So even though in the show it's supposed to be like she's the girl that's different, it's still very much like a very stereotypical personality to have, which I think is a bit ironic, but whatever. Moving on. So she was my favorite character for a long time. Making her in The Sims was really, really difficult. She's played by Lucy Hale, and Lucy Hale has like these strong sort of square jawlines. She has these high cheekbones, but then some of her other features are a little bit more soft and feminine, like her nose and her chin. Her lips are kind of small and again just softer. And her eyes are really unique. I don't know how to say this, but they kind of like droop downwards on the outer edges, and it looks really cool. She's always reminded me of like having big puppy dog eyes, but making her face shape was really hard. This is actually my second attempt. I'm not going to show you my first attempt. It was just really bad. I think I might have shown a clip, but just ignore it. It was really bad. She's sitting there in the left corner and we're not going to look at her. But anyways, making that was really difficult. But on top of that, Aria's style is very hard to replicate in The Sims. She's very eccentric with her style. She mixes patterns. She wears a lot of layers. She's got a lot of jewelry on. And obviously The Sims 4 has a lot of eccentric clothing. But the thing with Aria is that she layers her clothing a lot. Like she wears multiple shirts and a jacket, which is obviously something you can't do in The Sims 4. You will see that I do layer her bottom clothes. For example, you can put tights under like ripped jeans, or I put her in like shorts and tights and socks as a way to kind of make up for the fact that I can't layer her clothing with jackets or multiple shirts. The jewelry was also very difficult because a lot of the things I would have had jewelry with, they don't show up on the shirt for some reason, so that was really annoying. But anyways, I think I pulled off her style pretty well. You will see that these outfits are like super out there and maybe not something you would ever wear, but this is the only time I'll ever get to make this sort of aesthetic. So I was like, I'm gonna go full on all out and So yeah, her outfits are a bit much to some degree, but I think they turn out okay for the most part. I think some of them look pretty cool. She wears a lot of black, so she was always my favorite character in the show for the longest time. I liked her a lot. I related to her the most because of all the 4 characters, I was never like the sporty one. I was definitely not like the fashionista. Like I wasn't like obsessed with shopping or fashion. I wasn't like uber popular, like the uber popular girl in high school. I wasn't unpopular either. I was just kind of like average in my high school like hierarchy. And then for Spencer, I mean, yeah, I got pretty good grades, but I was never like as obsessed with grades as she was. Like, she was crazy. She studied all the time. Her parents had very high standards. I didn't have to deal with that kind of stuff. So relating to Spencer was not it. But relating to Aria, I've always liked her style. I feel like I look the most like her. I also have like a pretty strong jawline and high cheekbones. So I always felt like I looked the most like her. I don't think I look identical to her by any means, but we just had some more similar features. So she was my favorite character for a long time, but as I rewatched the series over and over again, I start to dislike her more and more. You know, she just kind of gets portrayed as being very hot-headed and a little bit unstable. I mean, obviously she goes through these very traumatic events in the series. I mean, for one, her friend Allison, before she had gone missing, was not a really great friend. She was very manipulative and toxic. And then Allison goes missing, so now she's lost a friend, and her parents move her to Europe for a year. So it's like a lot of things just all happen at once. She comes back, now she's getting blackmailed. But even in the series before all of the like blackmail stuff happened, she's just kind of unstable. For example, in the series, her father cheats on her mom with a college student. And and then Aria finds out about this, and she trashes his office in the university. She breaks furniture, she throws papers all over the floor, she breaks glass, she writes a bunch of like blackmail things on the wall, and then the girl he was dating ends up getting the blame for it. She was like threatened with police and all of these different things because he was like worried that this girl he was seeing, his student, was like trying to tell his wife, and so he was freaking out and he was like threatening, like, you can't do this, you stop seeing each other, blah blah. So she put both the girl and her father in a very bad position. I get it, like, he cheated, but that's just like next level anger for, I don't even know how old she was, 15 at the time or something. I don't know. That was like a very hothead moment. She has a lot. Like, that's one example, but there's a lot of moments where she kind of gets angry really quickly, and people actually thought that she might have been in the series, the blackmailer, because for the first couple of seasons, she is the main character. I mean, literally the show starts with her moving back to town, and they follow her along. That's when all these things start happening. So people are like, find all these little hints, and they're like, oh, I think Aria is A. And it makes sense, like, with her character, which is one of the reasons I kind of grew to dislike her, because she's kind of shown as kind of selfish and hot-headed. And it's interesting because she has these tendencies, but she's also like thought of to be like very self-assured. And I think it's weird that people see her as self-assured, because while yes, she like defies boundaries in this and that, she's also like clearly insecure in her own life. With reason. Like, she has all these events that happen to her, but with reason she's like insecure about her own life. And I don't know how self-assured you can really be about yourself when you have all of these like issues around you. You know what I mean? Like, if your life is so unstable, then how can you yourself feel stable, if that makes sense? Especially when she's like at this young age and is dealing with all these different things. I don't know. That's just my like thoughts on her situation. But yeah, she was a really interesting character. I think she's definitely going to be the hardest one to make of all the girls. I haven't tried the other ones yet, but she has I think the most difficult, like I said, facial features, and I think her style aesthetic is much more difficult than the other girls. And her style varies a lot. I couldn't get it all in this episode. Like, I could have made thousands of outfits and they would have all been very different and fitting of her, because she goes for these very like punk clothes sometimes, like the leather jackets, dark clothes, suede jackets, leggings, ripped jeans, all that kind of stuff. But then she also has this like cottage core that she goes with sometimes, with these very puffy sleeves, or like the bow tie and a shirt, and like fully dressed, like lots of layers, like I said. But she has a lot of different styles. And sometimes she's just wearing a, jeans and a t-shirt, you know? So there was a lot to kind of go for, but I did go with her more like edgier, darker clothing. Some of it's semi-cottage core, some of it is like preppy-ish, but like preppy punk, if that makes sense, because that's just what I felt was easiest to make in The Sims, and it's just the items I liked the most on her, so I was like, yeah, we're gonna do that. She's probably gonna be my favorite to make in this series, because she's just so interesting. I mean, all the characters are super interesting, but I think just her in general, I like her aesthetic a lot. So yeah, the show is actually really interesting. I would be surprised if people are watching this and haven't at least heard of Pretty Little Liars at some point in their life, because it was just so popular a few years back, and it was such a long-lasting series. I mean, it started in 2010, ended in 2017, and I don't even know if that includes the revival, like the extra season that they gave at the end. I don't know when that came out, but I don't think it came out in 2017. So it's a very long-standing show, and I would be surprised if someone didn't know what I was talking about. The thing is that, like, despite its popularity, I actually don't think it's that great of a show. The books are pretty good. I haven't finished them. I, like, started reading them. I think I got on book 3 or something, and then I stopped reading at some point just because I forgot, and now I've lost the book somewhere. I should really pick them up, but I've been reading other things, and that's, like, a younger book for my age at this point because now I'm in college. But it's kind of one of those books I feel is a little bit timeless, so I don't think I'm necessarily too old to read it, but I don't know. Well, I guess we'll see if I ever go back to reading it. But the TV series kind of follows the books from what I've seen, but also doesn't, and the ending I'm fairly certain is drastically different from the books. And it's kind of weird because it had so much potential, right? The series had so much potential because it's a teen show with like the stereotypical teen drama, but it has this like overlay, like this deeper meaning of a mystery in it. Like, who is this A that's blackmailing them? And I find their final result on who is A is just very disappointing and confusing. And apparently the way these script writers wrote out the TV series was they wrote it as they went along with the show instead of writing it beforehand and then doing the show. So they have all these cool plot lines and hints that they just sort of drop randomly. There's so many plot holes that they never finish in this series, and it's really disappointing because people would spend like time looking at all of these hints, like who's A, we want to know, and then in the end I feel like a lot of the hints just either go unrelated to the ending because they never finished out the plot story or the plot line. And I feel like they almost chose A because they chose whatever ending would be the most unlikely. And by doing that, they also chose one of the most stereotypical endings of the show, like this very overdone ending. And as like an end result, even though the show is really interesting to watch, it's also like not very good. It's not very well written. They definitely could have done better. Like, I don't think it's very smart to write a mystery series as you go along. Like, you kind of need to figure out the mystery first so that all of your hints and stuff make sense and aren't just like a bunch of red herrings. Like, it's fine to have a couple of unfinished storylines. All TV shows have a couple of unfinished storylines usually, but that one had so many, it was ridiculous. So, yeah. I don't know. It's a nice show, but I wouldn't like... the hype was overdone because people, I think it was so hyped up, right? Because it was so well written, or it seemed so well written, but then when you see the ending, you're like, none of it makes sense. And it just got very overdone. I feel like it got dragged along. There's a lot of like YouTube videos that talk about this too, because a lot of people talk about how the series was so overdone, like they were just trying to get as much screen time as they could. They drew out these plot lines, they kept everything in suspense always. There was always waiting, and in the end there's not actually that many episodes that relate to the main storyline, and you could probably cut down most seasons to like 4 or 5 episodes of major events that actually mattered, which is a little bit disappointing. Like, I get having filler, but 3 or 4 episodes per season as being the most important, I don't know, that's a little weird. That's like, it was just kind of a waste. I feel like they had so much potential for this series. I'm actually very curious about the new series. I was not excited because I think they've redone Gossip Girls and Pretty Little Liars, which I think are both written by Sarah Shepard. I'm not certain, but I think they're both written by Sarah Shepard. They're both very stereotypical, like, teen dramas. Pretty Little Liars obviously is this like mystery show, as I've explained. Gossip Girl is talks about like this elite life, and it also has to do with like a cyberbully who's called a gossip girl, and she like knows all these secrets and she posts them on her website, and it's like major drama all the time. So I think they're both written by Sarah Shepard, and they're both pretty good. I actually like Gossip Girl more than I like this show now that I've seen the ending. When I first watched the series, I would 100% say that Pretty Little Liars was my favorite, but that was before I knew the ending. So yeah, still recommend watching them. It's just, don't get too sucked in by all of the mystery. Just kind of watch it as for fun. Like, don't start trying to figure out who A is, because you won't figure out who A is with the hints they give. It's just very bizarre how they end that series. But yeah, that's why I'm saying I'm like pretty excited that they've redone them. I want to watch them at some point. The thing is that like I wasn't excited when I first heard, because the whole idea of like remakes or like a second series that's a little bit different, I always feel like you're gonna get disappointed. Like, the original is usually the best, but I don't know, I think maybe for Pretty Little Liars it might be like well written this time, since I don't even think the original scriptwriter is in it anymore. I think they had to pick a different person. I think they knew they should, because all due respect, the girl that wrote it, I think her name is Marlene King. She has a lot of potential, but she's not very good at finishing her storylines. She left a bunch of plot holes, like I said. So I think they went with someone different, which I'm actually happy about, because as much as I liked Marlene King, like, I feel like she has such a great mind, but she doesn't finish with what she goes through, or at least that's kind of what happens with this original series. So originally I was like, I don't really want to watch the new version, but at some point I do want to watch it. I'm really curious. I think it's probably going to be better than the original. Like, of course, these characters are the ones I relate to and know the most, so I'm going to be more excited about these ones, but I think the newer one will have a better storyline. So I don't know. I always find TV series like that really interesting, like when they do remakes, because obviously people are so attached to characters in a TV show that like seeing a remake is just sometimes upsetting or unbearable. It's almost like that way with the Avatar movie that had come out. So they had, Avatar the cartoon show had come out, and then they did a movie back quite a few years ago by now, but there was a movie done. It was a live action. Everyone hated it. Like, it got shit on so bad. And to be honest, when I watched it, I was like, it's not that bad, but it's not good either. And the reason, originally I was like, okay, there's like bad CGI and things like that, but at the end it felt more like, because they were going in such a drastically different way than the TV show went, but at the same time they tried to have all these like unique scenes in the movie that were in the TV show that it didn't work. Like, you can't go a completely different direction and then still try to have all these iconic scenes from the TV show. So I really don't think the movie was that bad, but it was just the way they did it was bad. It had potential, I feel like, because I actually really liked some of the plot twists that they had, like the changes they've made. I actually really liked some of it. Don't hate me, because I know that live action gets a lot of hate, but I actually didn't mind it, and I kind of wish there were the rest of the series, just so I could see what they were actually planning on doing. It was just very curious to watch. So the same, I feel like, with Pretty Little Liars. I'm curious as to how popular it became. I don't even know if the redone was this year or last year. Time has moved so bizarre that I don't even remember if the new series for Pretty Little Liars has come out this year or last year. But either way, I think it's going to be pretty good, even if people are related to or attached to this. That's like the concern with remakes. That was the point I was making, that it's really hard to do remakes of a series because people are so attached to the original that if people go a different direction, then they might get shit on for it. But I think this show has potential, the new one. I just haven't watched it yet. It's kind of also like with iCarly recently did a remake. Everyone was really worried about that, especially because one of the main characters isn't even in the show. For justifiable reasons. Like, if you guys know the story, then you would understand why she's not in the series anymore. But yeah, I don't know, I just went on a tangent. I don't know how to conclude what I was talking about, but in the end, I guess I'm just saying that remakes are really difficult to make, but I do think that this one specifically has potential. Maybe I should watch it and then do the characters too. I was thinking about doing the guys in the show as well, because obviously each of these girls have a boyfriend or multiple boyfriends, and so I thought about making them, but then I was like, I don't like making male Sims, so I didn't want to do it, and I don't like cast that much in general, so the fact that I'm doing this in the first place is kind of scary. And I can only commit to 4 Sims, so, but yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys liked this video. I think we're reaching the end here, so I'm going to say goodbye. I do have shorts that will come out for all of this cast stuff, which will only be a minute long, so if you didn't listen to the whole video, then you can watch that instead. Although if you didn't watch the whole video, then you're probably not hearing what I'm saying anyways. But I hope you guys liked this video. As always, if you did, please give a big thumbs up. You're about to hit screenshots. And as always, if you liked the video, please give a big thumbs up. If you like me, hit the subscribe button. And if you really like me and want to be notified every single time I post a video, go ahead and hit that bell button. I hope you guys are having a great day, and I will see you next time.